like going hunting, just me, my hound, and my gun. Chasing them deer, rabbit, and squirrel, now that's my kind of fun. I like going fishing too, I'll go on any whim, looking for the big bass, the crappie, and the brim. Just give me a wide open field to walk through. Give me an ocean so deep. I want to ride the longest river in the world, or maybe climb the highest mountain peak. Like going down to the fishing hole, my buddies and me and my old cane pole. Bait them hooks and wet them lines, it's a life I love so fine. It's almost supper time, you'd think the world was mine.
And now for today's outdoor adventure, here's Archie Phillips. I see him there.
Archie, it sounds like our counterparts are starting to come.
Yeah, one of them's got
Foxy and
something.
Bob.
One of them's got something over his shoulder.
Oh, we're gonna get ragged now, son.
I ain't gonna get ragged. You the one gonna get ragged. You the one
boy.
supposed to call that turkey in this morning.
Yeah. Get you a good one?
Man, what are you talking about? We wouldn't have it any other way.
You know, I think he stole our bird from
I
us.
believe he did too.
I wonder what barnyard he went to and bought that turkey.
Talks look like y'all done it good.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations,
Sure
man.
I,
Hey,
bet-
this man right here. Like Mr. Preston,
Yeah,
he's the one putting them on.
yeah.
He knows his birds.
I tell you, he started calling that this morning, and you know the first thought come in my mind.
Good bird.
I said I done got out of kindergarten, done went to school to college cat on this turkey call. Boy, he can
Right.
make that thing do it, can't he?
He's the best.
Well, you know, folks, I want to tell them this too. Toxie is the inventor or the designer of the mossy oak camouflage. And if ever I've been, you know, that does me good because it camouflages all that right there across the middle. It just makes me invisible, see? But how in the world did you think up this stuff?
I'll tell you, Archie, I've been running around in the woods hunting and enjoying, you know, wildlife all my life, and I just got, I guess, kind of fed up with what I was having to wear. I wasn't satisfied with it. I was tired of, you know, turkeys coming up, and the first thing they do, you know, they spot you right off and you don't get a good shot, and just kind of got into it as a hobby and kind of died and drew on stuff and studied, took a lot of pictures and studied the woods, and finally just decided to go off and try it, and we got it, you know, got the first product, and we got it in the woods, and we knew what we had, and we decided to take it to the public and see what they thought. And people just like Preston, you know, the expert hunters.
Man, it's the best.
That's right. They knew what it could do
All
for
they
them.
are to it.
You know, we've
They
had
look at it
stories.
and they say, you know, that camouflage is the color of the woods.
I got old Preston stand up beside some of these trees here, and I promise you, only one time I could see him stretch his neck, and I seen a little white right there on his neck, but if I was a turkey, I'd have walked right past him on that tree right there.
All we've done is, just like Bob said, is just try to capture the look, you know, the pattern and the colors of the woods. And, you know, for years people have been trying to, you know, take camouflage and break up your outline with these bright colors. And we just felt like if you could just blend with your background, you won't even have an outline. And I think you've seen it.
Right.
You've seen it on the trees, and you've seen, you know, y'all sat down by these trees, you realize what it'll do for you. And old turkey can see so good, but we've had a ton of stories this year of people that, you know, they used to use blinds, and now they don't have to use blinds anymore, and they've had turkeys just come, you know, almost step right on their feet and never detect them. And it's
I crimped Preston's style on this morning. I had to put me a blind out there because I need a little extra. You know, if I move, I don't want to be seen. But with this, I didn't realize that it's just as long as you know, just don't move. That's what's going to get you in trouble, even with camouflage, isn't it?
That's right. If you can't sit still, there isn't any camouflage that'll take care of you.
Yeah.
But if you can sit still, it'll make a big difference.
I see. Now, you just tell me about the leaves here, you know, how it matches up there.
When we came up with the camouflage, you know, not only does it have a lot of, you know, vertical design, you can see here you got the pattern running up and down, but it's got a lot of these leaf-shaped designs in the background where it'll work not just next to a tree, like, you know, everything on the market now, these new camouflages are tree-type camouflage, but it'll work on the, you know, the leaves of the forest floor, too.
You know, I want to sit down here. Sit down right there a minute, Preston. Let's look at this gray. This is just a typical, what do you call this pattern I got on here?
All right, we've got 3 different color styles. We've got what we call mossy oak hill country, and it's got a little bit more of a grayish background to it. We've got what we call mossy oak bottomland, which is a little more brownish color and is what most people in the South like, although all 3 patterns, let me get this straight now, will work really well. We think better than anything on the market anywhere you hunt. And then we've got this pattern, which you can see here like my vest is, and it's got some bright young oak tree leaves. Just a little, like, in fact, they're just like the water oak we just walked by out there, a little sapling oak tree leaf, to throw a little green in it for this time of year. And it's basically the same brown background. So we really got a gray, a brown, and a green version of all the same pattern. And to tell you the truth, they'll all 3 work real good anywhere you're hunting. It's just a matter of personal preference.
Move over here a minute out of that shade. I just want them to see. I want to see that pattern laying down in them leaves.
You see that?
What's like me and Preston was talking about.
It doesn't, not only you saw what it'll do to you next to a tree, but a lot of your background is either, if you look out here, you've either got a tree trunk or the forest floor as your background.
Right.
And those don't go away. They're there, you know, 52 weeks out of the year.
Year round.
Some of this green foliage kind of comes and goes, but your background is almost always an old tree top with dead leaves, or the leaves on the floor, or a tree trunk. And so we feel like that's the colors and the pattern that will work best for you.
Well, you sure done a real nice job. I've been a number of times with this year, and we ain't spooked one. I don't mean we got them in every time, but you know, sometimes they ain't gonna come anyway. And I guess Bob's gonna have to go out this afternoon and do his numbers.
Well, I tell you what, he's mighty tough on that call too. He's been calling in contests, and in fact, he's a current Alabama state champion owl hooter, and he's tough. And when he and I get on a bird together, it's kind of tough for him to resist.
Well, I tell you, we're gonna get rearranged here. Bob, y'all left a few out here on the forest, did you?
You did. There. Good deal.
I believe if they can be called, Mr. Preston will put them on you.
We're gonna change positions since we've been kind of talking and doing the show and everything here, and move on around a little bit and see what we can get into. I tell you what, though, all you got to do to get people to use this particular product of mossy oak is to just try it.
Just try it out.
It will,
you know,
it'll sell its own self.
That's what we tell them.
You don't have to sell it.
I tell you what sold me on it is not only the fact that I've already been using it, but when you take somebody and just say, go over here and stand up by that tree and let me look at you. Go right yonder, sit down by that big old oak tree there, and then when you can't see them, it's done the job.
That's right.
That's what we tell people.
Let's go get a bite, maybe and ambush one this evening.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Let's go get it.
Bring that bird on.
Yes, sir.
Outdoors with Archie Phillips is now available on video cassette. Like Volume 21, Dangerous Hunting. Boar hunting takes you on a wild boar hunt in South Alabama where the hunter becomes the prey. Alligator hunting takes you to the swamps of Louisiana for a strange but exciting alligator hunt. And Rattlesnake takes you deep in South Alabama for an educational afternoon full of fangs and rattles. So ask for Dangerous Hunting at your local video store.
Now, folks, that ain't a human turkey, but it almost is. I've got probably one of the most famous turkey callers and hunters in America, Mr. Preston Pittman from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and he's the owner of the Preston Pittman Turkey Calling Company, and his credentials are as long as your arm. I'm gonna tell you, just listen to this. He's 6 times national champion, 8 times king of champs. In other words, only former national champs can compete there. He's 1-time world champ. He's the natural voice champ 2 times, and world natural voice 1. And he's the U.S. Open gobbling champ, and he's got 40 state and regional championships. So you are talking to and going to be witnessing some of the finest turkey calling ever in the history of turkey calling, I guess. And we've had a good hunt this morning. We're over in an area around Monticello, Mississippi. We've got all kind of terrain. It's really the most mixed I've ever seen. We've got some flat pasture land, a little swamp area in here, a few little hills here and there. And it's just perfect habitat, isn't it, Preston?
Oh, it is awesome over here. It really is.
Just the bird we had out there this morning, we got him coming in, but we couldn't get him all the way in. And you just tell me this afternoon hunting is good or better than the morning
Oh,
hunting.
I tell you what, Archie, well, a lot of people don't realize, they think that the only time they can turkey hunt the first part of the morning and hear birds gobbling, going about their way and going back to work. Sometimes during the midday or even late afternoon, some of the best hunting there possibly could be.
You hunt all day when you turkey
yes,
hunt,
sir.
don't you?
Pressure's off of them.
Yeah.
Pressure's off
We
of them.
want to express to people that that's just a notion. Turkey hunting is good for those that just want to hear gobblers, as a basic rule, isn't it?
As a basic rule, but don't be surprised sometimes, especially if you can do a little bit of aggressive type calling. You sometimes can get a bird cranked up in the afternoon too.
Well, I know this morning I was sitting there and you talking about getting a lesson. Now I got one. Boy, I tell you, this fella here can call a turkey. And what I want to do now, before we get back into our evening hunt, Preston, while we got a little lull here,
Okay.
If there is such a thing.
We're going to make it a little
We're
lull
going to make
right
it a
now.
little lull, okay? I want you to show them the calls and show them how to do them, tell them when to use them,
Okay.
and how to use them.
Okay, sure can. Let's start off with some of the basics first now. A lot of people have put a tremendous amount of emphasis on the different callers and how to use them. First, I'd like to say, people get out and scout your woods. Know your terrain, know your territory, know some basic habits and your turkey habitat. That's the most important part to learning how to call a turkey.
In other words, you got to know this turkey's there, haven't
You got to know it. You got to know this turkey's there, and you got to know him if he's a particular hard bird too.
you? I got you.
So pattern your birds even. If you got a particular bird that you're hunting that's a long beard, watch what he's doing, when he's doing it, where he's doing it, why is he doing it, for what purpose, how's he getting there, where's he roosting at,
And
where's
his
he
habits.
feeding at. You got it, just like you and I.
I see. And that'll put more bird on the table, won't
Put
it?
a lot more birds on the table than all the calling ability you could ever think of.
Had a fella tell me the other day that 30% of the turkeys are killed without even calling.
Sure,
You actually stalk them, don't you?
sure. You do anything you have to do. If you got to crawl, then you crawl to it.
They
if
tell
you got
me
to
that
slip and sneak, do it.
Around the edge of these fields, sometimes that one gives you the ambush. I mean, he gives you the slip, and they say you've been known to crawl on your belly all the way around these fields, come in on the other side.
I believe we might find grass stains if we look hard enough. But even whenever you're crawling, if you've gotten proficient enough to use a diaphragm type turkey collar, if you're on posted land where you know there's not going to be a safety factor, take your diaphragm, put it in your mouth, do a little clucking and purring while you're crawling, sneaking, slipping, looking, stop, scratching the leaves, use your feet, become a turkey. But be careful, that will get you shot in public woods.
When I kind of crimped your style here because you wanted to use a blind with 2 of us being in here. But this is not your normal way to hunt,
No,
is
Archie, it's not. I'm what we call a contact type hunter.
it? I see.
I like to slip and move up during the day like it is right now. See or hear a bird, stop, call occasionally, do a little soft calling, don't make a contact, speed it up a little bit, don't hear anything, then I'll hit him with some hard cutting. That doesn't get a slip on and move a little bit further.
In other words, you're pretty well moving all the time.
I'm pretty well moving all the time until I make contact with the bird.
I see.
And then if I have to move on the bird, so be it. I might slip just 15 or 20 yards just to make it seem like a real turkey. Because how many turkeys you know sit in one spot and call for 45 minutes to an hour? Most birds are continuously moving. Even they might not be moving over 10, 15, 20 feet.
All right, well, let's see what this calling situation's all about.
Okay.
Here.
Like I said, let's go with the basics. I'm going to talk basic turkey language. Clucks. Cluck is a universal call. It can be used anytime during the day. It is a calming type call. It means basically come.
That's a very simple call, too, isn't it?
Very simple,
all right,
very
now,
easy.
explain just what happened when you did that.
Okay, what this is a double glass call. We make them in both slate and glass. What I'm doing is I'm holding the peg on slight angle and just gently, I'm not lifting the peg up, and this will apply to any name brand, slate or glass collar, but just simply just pop it.
Just draw it to you.
Just draw it to you about all 1/8, maybe 1/4 of an inch. But do not pick the peg. That's what you see a lot of people doing, picking it up.
Don't pick it up.
Don't pick it up.
Hold it right on it.
Hold it right on it and just pull it right to you.
Now, is this the call that they can confuse with a putt?
A lot of times, yeah. A lot of times, yeah. Your putt is going to be a lot louder. It's going to be just like you and I if we got scared, like a holler almost. It's like, I see you.
And you don't want to mess up and make that one.
No, sir. He's
You're
gone.
out of business, ain't you?
He's gone.
Okay, just a kind of a thud, a flat.
Just a real soft, calm, just like you and I talking with no expression to it, no volume to it.
A lot of people that I've talked to said some of the old timers that hunt, all they do is go sit down and put that cluck.
That's right.
That's all they do.
A cluck will call any turkey that walks the face of God's green earth if you're positioned right, if you know your game, you're a good woodsman, you're in the right place at the right time.
And he'll come in and you
He'll
get him
come.
with that one call.
That one call.
That's all they got to
One
do.
cluck sometimes will even do it.
I got you. Okay.
Let's go over a basic yelp. And to do the basic yelp with, I'm going to use what we call the old-timey box call. Box call's been around for years and years and years and years and years. Probably one of the oldest callers that there is on the face of the earth. Also one of the simplest to use too. Basic yelp is just what it says, a basic yelp. You can play with it though, and you can toy with it. Turkeys have a language. They are talking to each other. And just like you and I, if we get excited, we're normally going to get louder with our calling. We're going to get faster with our calling. Hens are the same way. So we can take just a simple basic yelp, and we can play with that just a little bit, and let's speed it up and put a little bit more expression to it. The hen's more excited. You're getting a little bit more aggressive to the turkey. Or you can have a calming effect.
It's kind of a low-key deal, right?
Right.
All right, now, Preston, you need to show them also, these boxes need chalk rubbed on them, don't
Sure. On the underneath side of them, you always, before you go in the woods, want to make sure that your box call has been well chalked. And the type of chalk can make a difference too. You do not want to use a dustless type chalk, simply because it has an oil or a grease type base to it. You never want to touch the calling surface with your hand or put any type of insect repellent, grease, oil, or anything like that, like by rubbing your hair.
What kind of chalk is this we're talking about?
This is a box call chalk that's made for turkey calls.
I see.
And most sporting goods stores carry a good line of them.
Okay. Now, we failed to mention also, if we're using a slate call of any kind, they want to always sand that call, don't they?
Always want to sand the call. With slate, you always want to be sure and sand it with the grain in one direction.
With the grain in
With the grain in one direction. But if you're using one of the newer model calls, like your glass calls.
Now you say glass, what is this, fiberglass?
No, this is a glass material.
Glass material.
Simply glass. In this particular version right here, we have a double glass. With glass, you're actually cutting the surface. And a little trick that you can do is to sand it in one direction, take it and turn it, and sand it in the opposite direction, which has been taboo with slate. Well, the reason for this is you're calling across the grain. Well, with glass, now I've got actually little X's cut into this calling surface. So if I'm setting it down, well, I need to call just a little bit more to the bird. I don't have to sit here and turn and look and trying to watch the bird.
I
Where you
see.
call cross grain.
Anywhere you hit it, it'll go.
Anywhere you hit it now, she's gonna call for you. Archie, let's cover some of the basics of how to use a diaphragm. Diaphragms are undoubtedly the hardest callers that they are to learn how to use, but with a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, a little bit of practice, you can learn. You place the collar in the roof of your mouth with the open end pointing out. You're holding it in place with the back of the tongue, not the tip of the tongue. The collar should sit behind the teeth. Now, we're not actually blowing on the call, we're huffing. Huffing. We're using our tongue and or jaw in a pumping or moving type sensation up and down to get the high and the low note. I tell people first, get a sound, any kind of sound.
Anything, huh?
Anything. And then working into a yelp with the high note and the low note. It would sound something like this for somebody starting. That's a good first sound, okay? Now I'm gonna push my tongue up because these are rubber membranes in here. The more you stretch it, the higher the pitch is gonna be. You can even see my diaphragm sometimes moving.
All right, now
I'm really pumping that air.
Your sound is coming out the side of your mouth.
It doesn't really matter. That's my style.
All right, does the way that you wind up getting this sound determined by every person's individual lip? And
a lot of times.
and
Sometimes you find people with real narrow roofs in the mouth, they have a hard time to learn how to use them. People who have dentures. Those who do, try taking the dentures out and using it.
I see.
You asked me about calling out of the side of my mouth. Actually, that's more of a hunting instinct that comes out in me because I never want to call straight on to a turkey. I always call out the corner of the mouth. This way I'm making the bird focus over here instead of directly on me.
I see. Okay. Now, I know there's several types of diaphragms. Touch on them for me, if you will.
The beginner, start out with a good basic single reed.
Okay, that means one
thin rubber membrane.
Okay.
From there, after he learns the basics, he can stem off into, Lord, hundreds of different types of diaphragms. The basics behind them are, if you see, like this is my champion choice here, and if you see little nicks and little cuts or rip outs, most of these are designed to produce a rasp, or more like a more mature or older hen. If they're smooth and that don't have any nicks or cuts in them, they're probably going to have a little bit more of a clear type sound. And that'll hold true in any name brand collar also.
I see.
My favorite collar is my champion choice. That's the reason why I named it.
Champion choice.
It's a champion choice. Let me give you a little sample with some basic yelping, and I'm going to just kind of speed it into maybe a little bit of what we call cutting.
Okay.
I'll do the same thing on an exciter call. This is a triple reed, and it's actually designed for more of your aggressive type calling, like cutting.
Very good, very good.
I mentioned the word cutting, so I want to explain what a cut is and when you use it and everything. The cutting is a very, very aggressive call. It should only be used in a situation where you're trying to pump a bird up or really make a bird excited, or when you've already got a bird that's excited. It is an aggressive, aggressive, aggressive call. You do not use that on a quiet turkey, a bird that does not want to gobble that much.
In other words, you try to go with your lower calls first, right?
Let the bird dictate to you what he wants to hear.
I see.
Start out slow and soft. If he starts gobbling, then you might want to pump a little bit. Or if the action is going slow throughout the day, you might throw a little bit of cutting and just see if you get a reaction, but just don't stay on it. The only time you want to stay with that type of calling is whenever that bird is really pumped up or you're really trying to pump him up and you succeed in that. An old smart, wise bird that's been chased and been hunted and shot at and chased off the roost, and especially like right now during the latter part of the season, well, a lot of times if he's had a lot of pressure put on him, he don't want to hear that type of calling. He wants the basics.
Well, Preston, a lot of folks think that the good turkey hunters just use one call, which is a diaphragm call.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them use a diaphragm call a lot. But about every one I ever went hunting with has got a box with him and a slate with him.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Very simple. Just like you and I have different voices, so do turkeys. You might throw a diaphragm at him and he don't like it.
You just don't
He
respond.
might, right. Or he might have already been hunted and messed with a lot, might even been shot by somebody blowing a diaphragm. One thing a turkey does have is a memory.
You don't forget that little
You
sound,
don't
does he?
remember that. You wouldn't if you had a load number 6 to catch it, would you?
Uh-uh.
I guarantee you. And then a lot of times, too, you can mix your calling together and make it sound like two hands.
All right. Well, let's do this now. While we're on the diaphragm, give me some of the fancy stuff with it.
Okay. Let's play a little bit, and let's say that I'm really trying to pump a bird up.
When you say pump him up, get him excited.
Make him get excited, make him just want to come in and jump all over me and just see where the party's at, in other words. I might even mix in my natural voice calling, like say a young gobbler. One of my favorite routines I'll do is I'll start cutting, cackling, fast yelping, and Jake gobble right on top of it. So when I'm making that old long-beard thinking there's a hen over here that is real hot and there's a little young boy trying to come in and move in on his territory. Just that simple. See, I'm purposely making it sound like a young gobbler.
Goodness gracious alive. In other words, you show me all the calls you can do with your natural voice.
Got a whole flock of turkeys right now.
I love that. I love that. How about this now, Preston? Do you do much owling before you start?
Oh, yeah.
All right, show me some owling.
You want to hunt now or you want to play a little bit?
Both.
Okay. I'm going to try to make him gobble. I'm just going to go out and do a simple, basic barred owl hoot. But now in competition, we get carried away a little bit, which I was fortunate enough this year to win second in the world in owl hooting, too. And to do that, we kind of...
That's absolutely superb. Now, tell the folks what the owl hooting does.
What your owl hooting, calling like a crow, whistling like a hawk, any outstanding loud noise makes the bird gobble. Hopefully it makes him gobble.
What is it, just an instinct in him?
I think it, you got different theories on it, but I think it is just basically a loud noise. It's springtime, it's mating season. He's waited a whole year for these few little weeks here now, and he hears a loud noise, and it's almost like a challenge to him, and he said, you know, I'm the boss, I'm the man. Because sometimes we've even, you know, get out and slam your door, think you're gonna be hunting a mile from there, you
Right
hear him
there.
gobble. You know, train go by and blow their whistle. I used to bribe a train engineer to blow his whistle for me every time he went by a certain particular set of tracks.
'Cause
Make
they got-
every doggone turkey in the country start gobbling.
Goodness.
18-wheeler goes by, toots his horn, dogs bark, cows moo, anything like that. Crows, be listening for crows. Be listening for crows too. Archie, I want to talk a little bit about strategies now, things to do and probably some of the worst situations that people get into. This morning, we didn't have a good run. The bird was out out in the field. Bird already knew where he wanted to go. Now,
we couldn't change his mind, could
not
we?
going to change his mind, which brings up a very, very important part. Like I talk about in my shows and my seminars, go back to the basics. Know your territory, know your woods, know turkey habits, find out where your birds are feeding at, what time, where your birds are strutting at, what time, how's he getting there, where is he roosting, what's his purpose, just like you and I. We have a basic routine that we go through every day of our lives, so do they. When you enter the woods, you're in his backyard, not yours. So enter it as he would and treat it as he would. You'll kill a lot more birds that way.
Let me say this, Preston. You give me your opinion on it. Some turkeys are not going to do anything any different regardless of what you do.
That's right. He's already got his mind made up where he's going.
Regardless. And
Regardless.
So it don't mean you failed. That
No.
just means that bird was going to do what he's going to do regardless of all these incentives you've given him.
That's right.
And don't feel bad about it if he don't respond.
That's right. Probably this afternoon, we're going to pick up and move a little bit and see if maybe we can't head him off.
Okay.
I tell you, another problem a lot of times that people have is what we call hung up turkeys. One of the worst trouble people have birds gobbling. He's coming in, he stops. Why? Hens and natural obstacles. Those are the worst things. If he's got hens, sorry. One thing I can tell you can try. You can gobble at him. Be careful. That call will get you shot. It has me twice. Not
Oh,
once,
my
but
goodness.
twice I've been hit. Both times I was gobbling at a bird. But with a bird being very territorial, he's claimed this particular section as his, especially in the heat of the mating season. He might allow other birds to hang around to a certain extent, but he's not going to let them mess with his hens. So sometimes if you come in as a strange gobbler, even though he might have gobblers with him, or younger gobblers, jakes with him, you might come in as a strange gobbler, or if it's just a gobbler with hens, throw a challenge gobble at him. See what'll happen. But when you do it like a jake bird, because you never know for sure the true age of the bird until he's laying on the ground, and then you can't always tell.
In other words, you want it to be like it's a youngster that hadn't got any
Right.
better sense and he's gobbling in the old man's backyard.
That's right.
And the old man's going to come over and run him off or
Yeah.
whoop him real good, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I see, but if you put it out there as a full adult gobbler, he might get scared, mightn't he?
Might be a jake bird that you can't see, that's got a good full row gobble to it. Might be a 2-year-old bird that's taking over some hens that thinks he's a man, and pretty well is a man.
But
Don't
he
get me
ain't big
wrong.
as Top Boss, is he?
Not as big as old long, just show enough old longbeard, the one that's been around for 4 or 5 years.
So that's a strategy on him when all else has failed,
When
ain't it?
all else has failed, when you've clucked, purred, whined, yelp, cackle, the whole 9 yards, you're ready to go home, what the heck, let's throw something else at him, let's gobble at him.
Okay. Now, Preston, as best I can tell from my turkey hunting experiences, guys can do the calling like we've been over and all this kind of stuff, but when that turkey is just out of shooting range, they don't know what to do. They're afraid if they call too much, you run him off. If they don't call, he won't come on in. What's your suggestions on a close-in turkey?
Whisper sweet nothings in his ear.
Sweet nothings, huh?
Sweet nothings.
Show us some of
A
them.
little clucking, a little whining, a little purring, a little real soft yelping. This means everything's fine, everything's dandy. I'm very calm, very at peace. Come on in, big boy.
Now, that's a very soft call,
Very, very soft.
but how far can that bird hear that?
Let's put it into terms like this. Whatever you and I can hear, that bird can hear 10 times further. Whatever you and I can see, he can see 10 times further. So if I can hear that at about probably a little soft clucking and purring like that, maximum day like today, not over 20 yards. Times 10 for a turkey, which is now 200 yards.
So what we hear it and we say we couldn't possibly call that turkey doing that. You flat can though, can't
Yes,
you?
sir. Bird can hear it. Not only can he hear it, he can zero the bush that it's coming from, or the tree that it's coming from.
Well, that's why you said a while ago you call off to one side. You
Right.
want him looking over yonder while you're sitting right here.
Correct.
At all times. In other words, you don't like his straight on business, do you?
Normally I don't. Normally I like to call out the side of my mouth.
One way or the other.
Right. Archie, you know it's behind us over here. We've got water to our back, a little slough. I put this here purposely so that odds were hopefully a bird wouldn't come in behind us. Now this is not to say that a bird will never come across water, but anytime you're working a turkey, we're talking about natural obstacles, keep a natural obstacle such as water, fence rows, a logging road, cow trails even, small step creeks, of course large creeks too, but any type of a natural obstacle from between you and your bird. You don't want him to have to work any harder than he absolutely has to work.
To get there. And
to get there to you.
these folks tell me that they don't hardly ever cross water.
Normally they won't.
Wonder why?
He don't like to pick up and fly. He don't like to exert that much energy. And not only that, he likes for the ladies to come to him, not him to have to go to the ladies.
I see.
Outdoors with Archie Phillips is now available on video cassette. Like Volume 15, The Lost Art of Jigger Pole Fishing. Jigger pole fishing was a popular fishing technique of many old-timers, and Randy Howell has brought this extremely productive method to new heights. This video explains all the equipment needed and how to use it for an exploding topwater show. Each and every strike is seen as the fish actually takes the bait. So ask for Volume 15, The Lost Art of Jigger Pole Fishing, at your local video store.
Hi, I'm Nolan Shivers. I do an awful lot of tournament fishing, and I've got a lot of trophies to back it up. One of my earliest trophies was a bass that I caught over 30 years ago, and I carried it to a young taxidermist named Archie Phillips. That bass still hangs on my den wall today. Since then, I've had dozens of fish mounted by Archie. If I caught the world record bass tomorrow, I'd trust nobody but Archie Phillips to mount it.
Very simple to send a fish to us, freeze it solid, wrap it up in an inch of newspaper, put it in a cardboard box, and put it on UPS on Monday. We'll mount it and return it to you COD by United Parcel. Preston, I've sure enjoyed the hunt. I learned a lot from your calling techniques, and I'm sure if everybody put some of that to use, that they'll learn how to call some turkeys in and put them on the table.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoy good friends, good fellowship, view the outdoors, and I tell you what, I'm awful thankful, too, to the people that put us up, Barbara and John Winstead, that Stewart's Cameras there in Harrisburg, for putting us up at their camp.
Yeah, we sure appreciate that.
I
You
tell
come
you.
rolling in there kind of late at night, you
Yeah.
know, and Jay's up there at the restaurant. They was
Yeah.
mighty nice to us there this
There in
morning.
Monticello, that sure was. Awful nice of him.
So we just had a good trip.
Man,
and,
we had a good time.
Y'all folks stay tuned again next time for some more Outdoors with Archie Phillips.